Live. Hello, everyone. We are a bit early today, so
there we go.
We decided to go ahead and get started with this. We're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
Now, doesn't look like that is doing properly. Like our video kept on.
I see the two of us, and I see the last trailer.
It was blank for a few seconds. Our webcams.
Watch.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hylian Gamescast, episode 183. Today, I'm joined by the one and only the 𝗙𝗵𝗲, who just ended her own stream a little bit ago.
Updated.
We are going to be talking about all of the Tears of the Kingdom news that came out recently. We're going to be avoiding the leaks of the art book, but we're still going to get into detail on our thoughts and chat with all of you about it. And we're going to be talking about some other stuff that was revealed in the Nintendo Direct, a possible Direct coming next month or the month after, before Tears of the Kingdom actually releases. Something interesting I found earlier on Nintendo's Tears of the King website, and of course there's the Mario movie Direct that was announced. So let's start with Tears of the Kingdom. What were your initial thoughts to this new trailer? I know you have your reaction up, but yeah.
Pretty much every trailer is the same for me. I just get really excited. And I think both this trailer and the last trailer, I ended by saying the same thing, which was, wow, they showed us a lot, but also not a lot, which I think Nintendo is very skilled at doing. There's enough for us to go, what's that? And then realize, oh, there's actually not a lot, but at the same time, there is a lot. And now I'm going in circles. I wasn't really like, I don't want to say I wasn't blown away, because I loved the trailer. I love what we saw. I feel like the trailer before had a little bit more punch to it. And that's not even including the fact that we got a name for it. I was very glad to find out that the rumors were not true. Everyone's saying, oh, it's going to be delayed. They, in fact, confirmed the release date, which I appreciate. I'm like, they really delayed it by a lot in the first place. And I think that was on purpose to make sure they wouldn't have to delay it again. But yeah, saying that the other one had more punch is not to say this was a bad trailer. I think it was a good trailer, and they're giving us breadcrumbs, which some people are annoyed by. I have no problem with, because we still haven't gotten the full cinematic trailer, which I personally think we are going to get that. For those who recall that last really big trailer before Breath of the Wild, which was, again, a cinematic trailer, if you want to phrase it like that, really intense trailer. I still think we're due for one of those, and that they're going to show it eventually. So I had no problems with this last one. I was very intrigued by that big boxy robot thing that they showed. That looks like, to me, some way it's going to train you. I think the thing yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, it looks like it's like ZOEY or 𝗙𝗵𝗲 of some sort. So I'm like, something ancient. And it looks like it's there to train you, not necessarily hurt you, because it's the good green-blue coloring. But if there was a scene that intrigued me the most, it was that last one when the Malice comes up and Link full on, I didn't even notice it till someone pointed it out to me, because I was like, where's the Master Sword? He throws the Master Sword aside to go jump after Zelda, and that's the first time we've really seen his arm post-Malice, but prefixing. And I was like, that looks intense, because my question was, that doesn't make any sense, because in the very first trailer, there's a scene where Link's using that same hand and he seems to grab Zelda, but someone else pointed out that those probably aren't the same parts, because it looked like Zelda was reaching for him in that scene, whereas the one we just got, she's full on falling. So they were probably not even the same scene. So I was very much intrigued by that, and like, this must have happened right after his arm was just like singed. And the fact that he, I guess, realized, one, Zelda's more important than the Master Sword, or at least he felt like she was. And also the Master Sword was like done. It was already covered in malice. So those are some of my thoughts.
I had a completely different take on seeing those scenes again with Link reaching for a hand or whatever. I think that what we've seen in the first teaser trailer has been like tweaked a little bit, changed, and then these are the newer versions of that trailer. Because even when we see, unless Zelda just is really bad at walking around and falls everywhere, even in the last trailer, you can see Zelda like falling backwards. But in this one, I imagine it's the same fall, but it looks like they're a lot closer or further away than the previous. Because you can see the rock wall and everything behind their hands whenever Link's trying to reach for her. And maybe it's just the perspective, but the first time when we see her falling and she's falling backwards and the camera's up above her, it looks like they're really far away from the rock wall. But in this, it seems like Link is just a couple of feet from the wall. So I think, or at least to me, it just seems like they tweaked the scenes, or like, no, it would look better like this, or maybe they added something new, like a new way that the malice gets to him or something.
That would make sense, because even that one spot where we see Ganondorf throw his head back and his eyes open and glow red, it was at a different angle this time. It wasn't the same as the time before. Yeah.
And when we first see Ganondorf in the original trailer, I think it's the first time we see him, the green glowing spiral hand is already on him, or it looks like it's already on him when they walk in to the room. And there's also the scene where like the Calamity is coming out of his chest, or Malice coming, I said Calamity, the Malice coming out of his chest. And in this trailer, it seems like something happens to cause the Malice to come out, as opposed to them first getting there and seeing him with the Malice already coming out. I don't know. The way that it's organized, obviously they didn't put it in the exact order that it'll be when we play the game. But it seems like they did change a lot from the first trailer. And then they just showed us like the newer versions of those.
Yeah.
What are your
thoughts? Which would make sense.
What are your thoughts on who, in this trailer, I just showed it, Link is reaching for someone's hand? I always assumed that it was just Zelda, or like maybe a spiritual form of Hylia or something like that.
Yeah, I actually did a video on this because I was curious if it's the same hand from the figure in the scene before or right after. I don't remember. It's right before or right after the white gown. My first inclination is it's Zelda in some format or another, whether it's she fell and now she's dead and she's been changed in some way to be a higher version of herself, maybe more in touch with the powers of Hylia, if you will, since she does carry the blood of Goddess Hylia. Or if it is like a more human version of that creepy figure, because there's definitely a lot of theories surrounding it. I know there's some, and I kind of like this, the idea of, well, if Hylia could become Zelda, Skyward Sword, then maybe the reverse can also be true, but, you know, we don't know what goddesses necessarily look like in Zelda's world, if you will. My inclination is still Zelda, but just in a different way, which of course gets me into a whole bunch of other ideas of like, well, if she's died and she's resurrected in some way, how is the bloodline going to continue? Because the reason we have all the Zeldas we do is because my understanding is they're all from the same bloodline, whereas the Links aren't. Some of them are, but not most of them. And so that's a whole other thing. But I do think it's Zelda, just in a different outfit that might be just simply a different outfit or something more. And it's alluding to some higher version of her, but not quite a goddess.
We've seen some of Link's new abilities that he has. One is just like a remade version of Magnesis, it seems like, where he's just grabbing stuff or turning stuff, this time with his hand magic. I don't really know what you would call it. His little spirit hand. He's using that for abilities that we previously had with the Sheikah Slate. And it shows Zelda holding what kind of looks like an updated model of the Sheikah Slate, and some of the concept artwork is made to look more like a Nintendo Switch as opposed to a Wii U gamepad. Do you think I would kind of like for Zelda to be playable? Maybe not throughout the whole game or whatever, but kind of like Wind Waker, you could switch by playing the one song, you could switch between the different characters to kind of get around. And
Medley and Makar.
Yeah, and Majora's Mask, there was like that little tiny segment where you could play as Kefei in the his hideout, or what's it? Zakon's hideout? I forgot his name. But like little places or little areas where you can do that, where you have to maybe play as both, or they both get lost or split up, and you have to make your way to one place as Link, and then you can make your way through other passages as Zelda. Because I don't see really a reason why they would update her Sheikah Slate, unless it was one of the tech labs updated it themselves now that they know or understand more about it, and that's why it looks the way it does. But if it doesn't seem like it would be that important to the story unless it was something more than updated artwork. But maybe my thoughts are a little bit too out there, though.
Not necessarily, because I know I don't know why I keep pigeonholing myself to the idea that the falling is indicating that we're going to lose Zelda somehow, because that would certainly be a big change. But I know others have pointed out that there was originally for Skyward Sword, at the very least you see it in the end credit scene, that whole sequence where you see Zelda's journey, and that they had thought about presumably making that like a possible side adventure, like after you played the game, to do Zelda's journey from her perspective. And while I personally don't want Zelda to be playable, at the same time, there's that part of me that knows, well, if Nintendo feels like that fits for the game, I'll probably end up enjoying it, because I tend to just always enjoy Zelda games. So there's that. But with the updated Sheikah Slate, which, yeah, I've definitely heard people say the same thing, that it looks kind of like a Nintendo Switch rather than a Wii U gamepad. I guess it would depend on how early on that scene is where she falls, because maybe it's not as early on as we think. I imagine it's pretty early on, because I feel like that's going to set off the whole premise of the game and the whole story. But it would make sense that she's at least somewhat playable, and somehow you get to use that. I don't think you see it on her person in any of the cutscenes unless it's hidden under something, which it very well could be. But yeah, it could indicate that she's playable, and a lot of people have alluded to her having to do stuff underground, since that's where she falls. But I'm not entirely sure. We'll find out in a few months.
Yeah, there are older interviews where Miyamoto and Aonuma and people who also worked on Breath of the Wild were asked about Zelda possibly being playable, and they've always said that they like the idea if they ever found a satisfying way to include it as part of the game. So I think it could be likely that she's playable, but if she is, I imagine it would be a lot toned down compared to playing as Link. Like, it would just be certain segments or areas of the game. Something I seen earlier is on Nintendo's official website for Tears of the Kingdom, if I can find it again. At the bottom of the website, it mentions something about DLC, which has not been confirmed yet, which even Age of Clans had DLC, so I imagine this will easily get DLC. But it says,
for sure.
Whenever you go all the way to the bottom of the official Tears of the Kingdom, with 2 stars beside it, it says full version of game required to use DLC, sold separately. And I'm like, there's not DLC that's been announced yet. So I don't know if that
You must get
is
some.
like a little slip up on their end, or someone just put it in there without thinking about it.
Maybe. It's hard to conceive of DLC to me, even though it's definitely probably a big, huge possibility. It's hard for me to conceive of DLC at the current, just because I imagine Tears of the Kingdom is going to offer so much. I already felt like Breath of the Wild offered so much. And then to get 2 massive DLC packs was like, oh, there was even more, especially when Tears of the Kingdom started out as DLC, and now look where we are.
Yeah, I think if it does end up having DLC, it'll be a lot like Breath of the Wild's DLC, where it was a few things as a bonus at first, and then the first pack having the master mode and new costumes and little quests and stuff, and then the second set of DLC will be where you actually get a new story and stuff like that. Did Nintendo announce the DLC for Breath of the Wild before the game released? Because you could... I think I remember having the chance to pre-order, because you'd pre-order the DLC or whatever, but you could get those bonus things to download instantly. And I feel like it was available before the game actually released, where you could pre-order the DLC while you're waiting on the game to actually play. But I'm not really
recall that, but then again, I wasn't fully back into Zelda when Breath of the Wild came out. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, I've played Zelda my whole life, but I went through a period of not playing. I don't recall us knowing about DLC that far back, because I thought it was like a huge surprise, but I could be misremembering.
I'm gonna look up real quick. Breath of the Wild DLC announced.
I know one of them was like a huge surprise, because that was right after it won Game of the Year. I remember one of them was then.
Yeah, it was announced before, because one of the things on the release date for all the bonus items, it says March 3rd, which is when Breath of the Wild released. So it had to have been announced before.
I remember that.
And there was
I thought it was just speculated. Because I know at least for one of them, it was announced right after it won Game of the Year. So people didn't even know it was coming. That one, at least, they didn't even know it was coming. And then that it was a shadow drop too.
Yeah, that was at the Game Awards. Is that what you were mentioning? Yeah.
Yeah.
Back
when it was cool.
What is an ability or something that you would like to see in this game?
I want instruments to return. I know that sounds weird, but I miss the instruments. It doesn't have to be an ocarina, because that's been used in multiple games.
Cass should give Link his instrument.
I mean, they literally did that for the artwork of one of the things that was music related. Because I remember it's like, oh, he has the ocarina. Oh, he has the lyre, the harp. And then, like, you never played the accordion, but okay. That would be an interesting one to have, but that would actually be really cool if Cass was involved in some way of teaching him how to use that. That would be cool. I would like instruments to come back, because I'm an older fan.
All right, we'll probably get back to Tears of the Kingdom at some point, because I imagine everyone's going to ask about it. Someone said electric guitar. Yeah, there was concept
I like Natsu's. I want rain climbing gear.
Rain climbing gear.
Yes.
What else? So, what are the 3 biggest questions you would like answered from everything that you've seen Tears of the Kingdom so far? Like, what are the 3 things that you want to find out or figure out while playing the game?
While playing the game, I was gonna ask. I was like, that I want to know before playing the game, because some people want a lot more information before the game. I don't.
Miyamoto's gonna knock on your door and give you the script.
No, I want to experience it. 3 biggest questions I have. Oh, geez. I feel like there's a million questions. What is the state of Hyrule going to end up as? Because I know we had all been saying, like, man, I wish I could see Hyrule in Breath of the Wild before, when it was in its glory, which you kind of do in Age of Calamity, but not in the capacity that I would have wanted. So what is the fate of Hyrule going to be? Like, yeah, we're going to save it, but, you know, are these Sky Islands going to remain forever? Are they something purely spiritual in a sense that they're going to go away once everything's solved? Are we going to help rebuild Hyrule in a certain way? You know, don't know. So that would be one, the state of Hyrule. Why is Ganondorf down there and mummified? Just a huge story element. I want to know what that was, who put him there, like, because it had to have been a long time. All I can imagine, my first thought is, based on what we know now or currently, is Ganondorf in the 3 different timelines is child timeline. He gets imprisoned, but he's killed in Twilight Princess, we thought. I'm pretty sure. And then in Wind Waker, he also gets killed and turns to stone. And then there's all sorts of stuff in the Downfall timeline. So it's like, which, because I know they said it's the end of all 3 timelines. So I'm like, what happened that someone got Ganondorf and then sealed him down there like that? How did that happen? So that would be a second one. 3rd biggest question. Oh, geez.
I think we'll see Ganondorf, his story of what happened to him, because I think that would also tie into that leak from the voice actor that does Daruk, and I forgot which language, but he mentioned that there was
like French or something.
Yeah, an ancestor or an older family member from a long time ago that he would voice, and I think that cutscene would be likely showing how the older champions were able to defeat Ganondorf that 10,000 years ago.
That would be so cool. Oh my gosh.
So I think all of that is connected, and we'll see the character he was talking about, and likely other versions of older champions from long ago. That battle defeating Ganondorf. Maybe a character where someone will talk about it or mention it. Kind of like how Impa fills Link in on stuff that happened that he missed out on, or even King Rome did as well. Ooh, we have a $2 super chat. Does the physical Triforce appear in Tears of the Kingdom, you think?
That would be cool.
I think it will.
Because it wasn't really, I don't want to say it wasn't relevant. The only thing you ever see in Breath of the Wild is when Zelda discovers her powers, unlocks them, and you see it on her hand. And that's basically it. But if I do have a 3rd question, it would be the source of all this ancient stuff. Obviously, most of us are speculating that it's Zonai. I've even wondered, and I know others probably wondered before me, it's not a unique thought, if the Zonai are just an ancient form of the Sheikah or something like that. So I'm curious about that. Those would be my 3 questions. What about you?
Part of me kind of, I do think they will show the Zonai, but part of me wants it to just be kept a mystery, because that's like the one thing that everyone who talks about Zelda or Breath of the Wild talks about, is like, oh, who were the Zonai? Here's this theory. Here's this theory. Were they from the Twilight Realm? Were they older versions that split off from the Sheikah tribe? Was it whoever? So the way that Nintendo usually does those ancient tribes, for the most part, they're left a mystery. Like, there's the interlopers they talk about in Twilight Princess that is all mysterious. It's always a dark, mysterious, magical tribe in almost all the games. And I kind of feel like at first that's what this was, because in the book it says that they just added the Zonai and some of the runes spread out around Hyrule to make it seem like it was an older place or an older kingdom that had been lived in, that there is a past history. And if they originally put them in the game just so that the world would feel lived in, then I don't think they really thought too much on who exactly the Zonai are or how they would fit into the game, because it seemed like they were just intending them to be just another ancient, mysterious race whose sole purpose is to be mysterious.
Yeah.
Even the Zonai name, I think in the book it also says it literally stands for secret or mystery or something like that.
Which kind of makes you wonder if that was just a name Hyrule citizens gave to it, because maybe they were trying to bury who they were. You can wonder. Like it's not actually their name or something. Kind of like, how do I describe this example? It might not make sense to some people, but in the book of Exodus in scripture, they never say the Pharaoh's name. Moses against Pharaoh, also Prince of Egypt, great film. But they never say the Pharaoh's name, and that was on purpose because I think in Egyptian culture, at least back then, during that time period, if your name was forgotten, then you were forgotten. Like that was a way that you would kind of bury someone permanently, quote unquote, in the afterlife, even though they had a different view of the afterlife. So the whole point was the scripture writers purposely never wrote down Pharaoh's name because they wanted to bury him completely. Kind of like a smack in the face to his own set of beliefs, if that makes sense. So could be similar to that, and that Hyrule citizens purposely did not call them whatever they originally were because either they forgot or they wanted to get rid of them.
I think when Urbosa's talking to Link, she mentions that Ganondorf was like a stain on their history.
Yeah.
Or, I forgot exactly how it's worded, but that reminds me of what you were just talking about. Although he wasn't completely forgotten, but
which is
there would be
good.
reason that
better. Yeah. Since it's, I think for Urbosa, or at least the Gerudo tribe, I think they purposely try not to forget him because they're like, let's not let this happen again.
Yeah, if in Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf was so much taller than all the other female Gerudo. So it makes me think that in this game, Ganondorf's going to be like 10 or 12 feet tall when he's standing straight up, because if the size comparison is still to scale from the older games, then I imagine he'd be really intimidating looking. And we had his voice actor for the first time. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm warming up to it, I think. Initially, I was very turned off by the voice. And I've said this before, because originally, long time ago, feels like forever ago. Yeah, when Breath of the Wild first came out, there were a couple of voices that I was like, oh, this is a bad voice actor. And then I realized, no, it's not the voice actor, it's how they were directed. And I think every single voice in Breath of the Wild, I actually realized, know what? I do like this. I actually do like how they directed all of them. I warmed up to it and realized that I was wrong with my initial notions. But feeding off of that, I did not like what I heard at first. And that is absolutely no shade at all to the voice actor. I'm not even sure who the voice actor is. I'm not sure if it's been actually revealed. I had been told it was Matt Mercer or Mercier. I don't know how to pronounce it, but there's speculation that it's someone else. So it might be actually revealed somewhere. I haven't researched it. I don't like the direction it took. However, I will admit and concede that we've only heard like a few lines, and it could be just that section that the rest of the time we hear Ganondorf talk is going to sound more intimidating. To me, it sounded more like a cartoon Bowser than it did a really intimidating Gerudo thief, personally. But it could have just been that line. And the more I've had to listen to the trailer, I say had to, have chosen to listen to the trailer because I use it for video footage, the more I go, okay, it's really not that bad. It's just this line. Just give him a chance. Not specifically him, because he's probably a phenomenal voice actor. It's just I don't like the way it was directed, but I could warm up to it. That's my thoughts.
At first, and I'm still kind of leaning towards this, that it's also the voice actor of King Rum doing this, kind of like how
it sounded like him.
Most of the other voice actors, not only do they voice like Joe voicing Daruk, but he also voices Yunobo. And then with Sean, he does the two birds as well as the Great Deku Tree. And if this is the second character that Rome's voice actor voices, then I think that would be an interesting contrast from the King of the Gerudo or the Demon King, and then also
versus the actual king.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I wouldn't like about that is that doesn't call for much of a difference in voice too much. I mean, I guess technically for Sean, Revali and Teba were not that different, but Revali and the Deku Tree were very different, and even Daruk and Yunobo sounded very different. So I would feel bad if it is that voice actor. It'd be like, you didn't really have to change your voice that much, or they didn't ask you to.
What's the next thing? Okay, so the rumored Nintendo Direct, or whatever it's going to be, I've heard that it's a Nintendo Direct, just like a smaller Zelda-focused one, like they've usually had for games previously, like Xenoblade and Pokemon always gets one. They had like 1,000 just for Smash Brothers, it feels like.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I don't know if it would be a Nintendo Direct or if it would be more like a Treehouse Live thing, to where it's more casual instead of just giving all of the details. That they more so have a conversation with it. I keep getting hiccups.
I got them all day Tuesday.
It sucks when you're trying to record and every 2 sentences you have to do it
over
again.
Hurts.
So what do you think would be shown in the next trailer? Because they're going to have at least 2 or 3 more trailers, because they always have the trailer, like the launch date trailer or whatever, like a day or 2 before the game actually releases. They always have an accolades trailer, like, oh, this is all the reviews and 10 out of 10, 5 stars, all that stuff.
Yep.
And they'll probably have one showing off what the amiibo does. And if the website where it mentions DLC is correct, then I imagine there would be a trailer showing off some of the stuff for the DLC.
I know there's rumors that they're going to show a lot of Tears of the Kingdom stuff at PAX East because Nintendo's going to be there. As far as another Direct, I don't know. I feel like I'm not informed enough to make a judgment call on that. I would certainly hope there'd be something akin to a Treehouse, just so we can see some of the footage. Kind of like how at things like PAX East or E3, people would get to play like 20-minute demos, just enough time to play the game and be hooked, but not enough time to get too far into it. That way you don't go crazy. So I do hope for that. The only thing I feel like we're going to get for sure is that cinematic trailer, or at the very least I'm hoping, which I don't want to get my hopes up too high, just because that last trailer for Breath of the Wild was probably one of, if not the best gaming trailer I have ever seen. Just so well done. I hope for something like that. I don't know if they would do a full Direct on it, just because I know they don't want to reveal too much. They've been quite tight-lipped about it, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I understand that they want to keep us going, and especially based on what I've heard about the art book, not actually seen anything. It sounds like there's a lot they haven't shown, and people should be excited, which some people get upset about, that they're like, they should be showing it. It's like, they don't want to show their whole hand, but they might show a ton more of that stuff in a cinematic trailer. So not sure, but I do hope we get at least the cinematic trailer and some sort of Treehouse type event, so we can see some more gameplay, like someone actually playing it.
Yeah, I would have honestly expected, back when they had that Nintendo Live event in Japan, where there was that giant statue, I would have imagined that would have been the perfect place for them to have had a small demo showcasing, but instead they just brought the statue with giant background.
Yeah.
And even if the game was to release after June instead of in May, they're not going to be at E3 anyways, so
Right.
Where else would they be able to have a presentation if not where you were mentioning
PAX
yeah,
East.
PAX East, yes, I forgot the name of it. I was distracted. Taker610 has another $2 super chat. It says John Cartwright of GVG did a great Ganon read.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that
I
is.
know the
either.
name though. I'm gonna look him up. Maybe I know him.
I don't know what GVG is.
I don't know either. My mom's texting me about bread recipes.
Bread's good.
It is. I was asking her for some recipes.
Apparently, I don't exactly know if it mentions it or shows it in detail in the art book, but there was a previous leak before the art book came out about being able to repair or craft weapons and stuff, and then in this trailer,
awesome.
we see the arrow that targets and goes directly to the enemy that he was shooting at. Daniel actually posted a video earlier today, and he has one.
I need to watch it.
From, I think it was his reaction, in-depth look at the trailer. He talks a lot about the dungeons there as well. So, do you think?
Yep.
There will be dungeons, or how do you think they'll be used or replaced?
Well, this was actually a point I've brought up a couple times in my videos, which, by the way, thank you, Natsu, for the $2 super chat. This is no words. No words. I had made a hot take comment purposely that I didn't see a ton of evidence of traditional dungeons. I may have just said regular dungeons, but I intended to mean traditional dungeons. But I didn't mean it in a bad way, like, oh, there won't be dungeons. I do think there will be dungeons in some capacity. One, because Nintendo listens. The whole reason Breath of the Wild exists in the manner it does is because everyone complained. It felt like everyone complained about the linearity of Skyward Sword. And so they were like, okay, bet we will take that a complete opposite direction. But then everyone was like, hey, the divine beasts were interesting and the shrines were cool, little mini dungeons, if you will, but not really. And I personally really liked them. I mean, I hated 𝗏𝗏. But other than that, I really liked them. Okay, I should be clear. I just hated Thunderblight Ganon. I should be clear. Anyway, because I don't do challenges very well. But Nintendo probably listened and they're doing dungeons, but they're trying to make it very much suited to a world like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. So it probably won't be like Ocarina of Time, my personal favorite Zelda game, where it's like, here's your forest themed dungeon, here's your fire themed dungeon, here's your water themed dungeon, though those elements might be there. I do hope there are dungeons. And I think in Daniel's videos, he brought up really good points about how we actually have seen evidence of it throughout. I mean, I guess we were all speculating even from that first one, there's been some weird entrances to like caves and such. And it could be that they're all similar. I don't know how to phrase it. I don't want to end up rambling too long, but I do think there will be dungeons. We just haven't seen a ton of it. And it might not necessarily be like, go find this key in this room, go unlock this door. Now go get this dungeon item and go do this. It'll be dungeons in a different capacity, which some people think that's the only way to have Zelda dungeons, but that's not true. That form wasn't solidified until A Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time and Link's Awakening. Like those three games around the same time frame, those had those type of dungeons, but technically Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 were not like that at all. So I do think they'll be there, but they might not be what we expect. They will be very much suited to a world such as Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. But that's what I think.
I have similar thoughts. I think they'll have more dungeon-like areas, but I think it'll also be they'll have something there to have this game's version of what the shrines were. And I would like to say the torii gates that we see in some of the trailers and artwork might be used to somehow go between maybe not different realms, but it being at the entrance or at the start of a temple or like traditional themed dungeons, because in we've talked about it on a previous podcast episode, but that's where they're usually found in the real world, in front of shrines or places that they use for religious purposes, whether it's a giant temple or just a sacred area that they go to. And if they use that in a literal way in this game, then I think we'll be able to tell, like, oh, there's a dungeon nearby or a temple nearby because of the torii gates, especially since we see them all over the Sky Islands.
Right.
What did you think about... Oh, sorry.
No, I just said that makes sense.
What did you think about the vehicles? I found that a bit odd, but...
I don't like the idea of having to craft stuff, but I feel bad because I feel like this is such a cop-out answer that I give all the time when I see something in a trailer for any sort of Zelda game, and I'm like, ooh, I don't really like that. But my cop-out answer, and I do stick to it, is if Nintendo feels like it'll be cool in the game, then it probably will be. Because there hasn't been a Zelda game that I've actually played all the way through that I've been disappointed with. There may have been parts that I struggled with or didn't particularly like, but I still love the game. I don't like the idea personally of crafting and making vehicles. So I hope it's more of a side thing that maybe you have to make a couple, but not that much. It definitely looks like the creators saw all of the insane stuff those playing Breath of the Wild were doing and the crazy ways that they were coming up with these different travel devices, or if you will. It was usually something that helped them levitate, and said, you know what, we'll just make that a part of the game. Why not? Which means petting dogs better be a thing in this one. Just saying. They mentioned it. They mentioned it by name. We didn't know people wanted to pet dogs. We'll keep that in mind. Please do. Please put that in the game. I want to pet dogs. I have my cat, but I also want to pet dogs in a game. So I'm not really looking forward to it, but I also didn't really look forward to crafting in Animal Crossing, and now I'm like, oh, this is a good feature to have. I'm grateful, even though it needs some massive tweaks to be better streamlined. So not looking forward to it, but I'll probably end up enjoying it.
I think it was... I always think it's funny whenever I think about how you were talking about earlier with Nintendo listening to the fans, and that's why Breath of the Wild came out of Skyward Sword being so linear. But even with Skyward Sword, that came from complaints that people had about Twilight Princess, about it being too large and feeling kind of empty in some areas. And Twilight Princess came from people complaining about Wind Waker being cartoony or too childlike at the time. So it's funny that every single time Nintendo listens to the fans, being like, okay, you didn't like this, we'll change it. And Twilight Princess's way, literally, they did the exact opposite art style. And then they gave the opposite gameplay with Skyward Sword, where it was more like smaller areas, but there was more stuff to do in each of the individual areas instead of having a larger map being kind of empty. And then from the linearity of Skyward Sword, we got the giant thing from Breath of the Wild. So it's like every time they fix something or add something that the fans want, then they just get like another complaint. It's like, okay, well, it's not cartoony now, but it was empty. And now it's like, So I always think that's funny. And a few minutes ago, we were talking about you mentioning that you wanted to see Hyrule rebuilt. And there were interviews with Aonuma or Fujibayashi, where they mentioned that, and it was before the game actually released, but they mentioned that the world was going to be, or it was supposed to be, more dynamic and changing as Link plays through the game, which to me sounded like an idea of if the world is changing as you're playing through the game, then maybe after you run bokoblins away from some camp or destroy them all or save an area, that place begins being rebuilt.
Right.
But I don't know if they would actually go through and do that. They have all the models and stuff from Age of Calamity and then even from the trailers of Breath of the Wild. So it's not like they would have to create brand new models or put too much time into working on areas like that.
Right.
But yeah,
Still would love to see it though.
Yeah. All right. We'll probably get back to Tears of the Kingdom later, but also there's a $2 super chat from Natsu that just says no words. Don't know what.
Oh yeah, I mentioned that one earlier.
Okay. Was there anything else from the last direct that you were interested in? They blew everyone's mind and probably made Daniel's
really
Christmas good by releasing.
I know Metroid Prime Remastered. I was like, "Ooh, that dude is freaking out right now," and it looked good. I don't even know anything about Metroid, except that the main character's name is not Metroid; it's Samus. I know that now. I was really excited for Game Boy and Game Boy Advance because now I have the ability to play Minish Cap in the Oracle game. So after I finish Ocarina of Time, I'll probably start Minish Cap because let's be honest, I'm never going to get back to Twilight Princess. I don't know why. I just struggled to finish that game and get anywhere past the Forest Temple. I always finish the Forest Temple and that's it. Anyway, so I was really excited for that. The Kirby Return to Dreamland looks really good. I like Kirby games. They're fun. I feel like there was a lot of things. We're getting Birdo in the Mario Kart DLC, which someone pointed this out. It may have been like Nintendo Life or someone that we didn't expect. Like we thought it was just going to be new courses and bringing back old ones too. I never would have thought, a character. And I'm like, that is great. I mean, I couldn't care less about Birdo, but the idea that, we might get other characters back, that's really awesome. I wish they would do that for the Super Mario Party, the one that's like all the old ones, like 1 through 3 put together, because it really needs some new boards, and it really needs for us to be able to play as Toad and Toadette, because I used to play as Toadette, and jeez, my upstairs neighbors are literally stomping on the ground. What the heck? But that made me lose my train of thought. They do that all the time. I'm like, do you pride yourself in just practicing your marching up there? Please stop. Anyway, what was I talking about? That they need to add stuff to that. I know there was more, but I can't remember what else was in the direct, but that may have been all there was for me. That's all I remember. Yeah.
I think they had Splatoon, like more DLC.
I do remember that.
For Splatoon.
I don't play Splatoon, so I don't know.
And I can't really think of what all of the other stuff they had was, but that's basically what I was also excited about from that trailer was obviously the Zelda stuff, and then the older Zelda games that you get to play using the Game Boy emulators on Switch.
Mm-hmm.
That's great as well, and it's interesting that they didn't even try promoting Metroid Prime before they announced it as available. Because I would have expected them to do a lot more for the marketing of the game, but
yeah,
I don't know. And the changes that they made to it, from what I've seen, is really nice. There's actually one effect that they took out, or at least turned down a lot. So oddly enough, on the GameCube, it looks a little bit better, but it's just whenever you're shooting Samus's energy weapons, you can see like the glow going through on the wall, like as the ball lights up the room as it goes down. But they kind of took that out or removed it in the HD remake. And it seems like it was also made by Retro Studios, the people that originally made it. And I guess it's the a glimpse at what to possibly expect for Metroid Prime 4 that a lot of people are looking forward to. And was also surprised that they didn't give like a standalone Metroid edition of the Switch, but maybe they're saving that for Metroid Prime 4.
Probably. And we still haven't heard much about Prime 4 in a long time. Like, unless I'm mistaken, the last thing we heard is when they said they basically started over.
Yeah.
Which was a while ago. So I hope that process is going well. Again, I don't play Metroid, but I hope for Metroid fans that it's going well.
Are you excited for the Mario animated movie? There's a direct coming for it, I think on Mario Day, March 10th.
Yeah, Mario Day, because it looks like an I-O, Mario, when you shorten it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Like, I watched one trailer, I think the first one where you got to hear Chris Pratt as Mario, and I actually thought he did well as Mario. A lot of people didn't like that he didn't have an Italian accent. It's like, but he's from Brooklyn, so it works that they went with that. I know that there was something about the way he says Yahoo was changed. I heard something about that somewhere, but I'm indifferent. I never wanted a movie version of a video game because that's how I feel about things like The Legend of Zelda. But, depending on if I have time and if movie tickets aren't too expensive, my husband and I might go see it just for the heck of it. Because, we're both casual Mario players, like extremely casual. Like, I'm more of a Zelda Animal Crossing person, and he's more of like a Halo, Dragon Age, Skyrim, all that, or Elder Scrolls. I don't remember the difference. Anyway, but we might go see it casually. I don't know. I'm indifferent. It's not like I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be terrible, but I'm also not like, oh, yay, I want a Mario movie. So, yeah, I'm indifferent.
It looks like it's actually on March the 9th instead of the 10th. So one day before Mario Day.
Oh, that's weird.
There's another add-on to this news where a rumor says that a new Red Super Mario themed Switch bundle could be announced on March 10th.
Is that when what? Oh, because I know they have a direct for the movie, and they explicitly said there will be nothing game related on that direct. They're like, it's only the movie. So, but I don't know when that is. I imagine that's before the film.
Yeah. I'm trying to look to see if there's any more news to talk about. Microsoft has that 10-year deal that they signed with Nintendo. Apparently, PlayStation didn't do it, so for the first time in a long time, a lot of those games, like I think Call of Duty or some, I don't know. It was some a bunch of the games won't be on PlayStation. Usually, it's Nintendo that gets left out when it comes to the third-party games.
Right.
And there was always the rumor that Microsoft's Xbox Live would be coming in some way for Nintendo Switch, which would be interesting. I imagine it would have to stream most of the games instead of physically playing them. And
yeah,
that looks like that is basically all of the news. Oh no, apparently the Mario movie is 92 minutes. And
it's only an hour and a half. That's good. I can manage that.
Yeah, I guess that's it for all the news. If we left anything out that anyone would like us to discuss, just post it in the chat.
I do want to address some of the comments in chat.
Oh, okay.
I'm with Matt. He says he's not looking at any of the leaked stuff from the art book, and he's not a fan of the person who leaked it. Obviously, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people who choose to look at the leaked images. You can choose to do that. But I'm with Matt that whoever chose to leak the book was wrong. to do that. Like, clearly Nintendo did not want it to be leaked. There's some people saying that, oh, they may have purposely allowed it to be leaked. I'm like, Nintendo does not. That's not Nintendo.
Yeah.
They don't do that. So that's honestly part of why I'm not looking at it, is I'm like, I was never supposed to see it anyway. But there's definitely a difference in opinion of people who think it really is spoiling a lot and people who say it's not. So probably shouldn't bring, I mean, y'all aren't spoiling anything in chat, so you're fine. But yeah. But yeah, Mr. Ash, you might want to be careful about some of your comments you're making. Just FYI.
Chat has
But
been
yeah, I'm with that. I'm like, it should have never been leaked in the first place.
Yeah, the chat has been pretty good without mentioning stuff that was leaked.
That's
There's
good.
been some people mention
Fun.
the art book,
Good job,
but
people.
nothing inside of it, so that's good. I was gonna say, are you ready for the mailbag? We can do 3 or 4 questions. I posted some on the Google Doc. I took out all of the old questions and put some new ones in.
I forgot to pull up the Google Doc. I will do that now.
And someone named Keeper of Light asked a question and ends it with kind regards from Germany. So I'm wondering, can you read this question in German?
Well, I gotta pull up the thing first.
Because I feel that would be, I think it's the first one. Where it says, I have 2 questions.
Hold on, I'm almost there. It's having trouble coming up. I
probably should have sent it to you for the link.
I'm sure it's pinned somewhere and I'm just struggling. Aha. Got it. I found it. Okay. Mailbags. Okay, Keeper of Light. I can't translate. I thought you were asking if it was already in German. I'm like, oh, maybe, but no, I can't.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I could say 5. I don't even remember what the word for question is. So he said, "Ich habe 2 something." That means questions. Anyway, do you think Nintendo is deliberately keeping many things from us because there are many things they haven't shown us yet? Yes. That's my answer. Yes, they are.
Yeah. And that even goes to what you were talking about with the leaks. You don't think Nintendo would purposefully do that, and they actually canceled all the movies or TV shows that they had with their Netflix partnership because it got leaked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they take the leaks very seriously, which is why if it's something like the one the voice actor mentioned, an ancestor or an older Goron that he voiced from long before Daruk. Yeah, Daruk. I was going to say Darunia. So many Gorons. But yeah, whenever he mentioned that and that leaked out, I felt good in talking about that, or if there's stuff that seems like it could be true, but it's not confirmed, and there's nothing to actually show, it's just something someone said or whatever, then it's cool to talk about it in a video. But whenever it's something that like this, where there's physical proof that it leaked and it has basically all the details, I wouldn't be comfortable going very in depth on that, because I don't want to get on Nintendo's bad side. Because I have my fingers crossed to have an early review copy of Tears of the Kingdom. So I'm doing everything I can to avoid getting taken off of that list.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
His second question. You want to take that one?
Sure. Do you think there will actually be traditional dungeons because somehow you have to get hearts? I mean, we got them in a different way before, so that doesn't necessarily mean we'll earn hearts through dungeons, but I could totally see it.
I think they'll have the heart pieces that you'll get from whatever this game's version of the shrines are, kind of like what they did last time. And I think they'll use the reason Link would need to get hearts is because, well, depending on how you ended Breath of the Wild, if you had all the hearts and all the upgrades and stuff, then you'd be starting this game out, hypothetically, with Link already maxed out with hearts and abilities and stuff. And I think it's they're using him being attacked by that malice as a reason that he needs to go back through and regain all of his hearts and abilities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Actually, in Metroid Prime, they have something a little bit similar to where you start the game with a bunch of powers or abilities and weapons and stuff. But then when I think it's the first boss fight that you get into, he basically destroys all of the powers or guns and weapons and stuff that you have. So you have to go through the dungeons and regain or not dungeons, but you have to go through the levels and regain the abilities and stuff like that. But it gives you like a small dose of, hey, this is what it's going to be like when you finally make it halfway through the game or whatever.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting if Nintendo did something like that, to where as you're just walking through the cave, Link still has full hearts and stuff, but then after that happens, it goes back down to 3. And then I think the yellow light that we see with Link on that platform when the sword's all damaged and stuff, I think that might not only be how the Master Sword gets repaired, but I think that could be something similar to the goddess statues in Breath of the Wild, to where instead of praying to a statue of Hylia to get heart pieces or a stamina upgrade, I think that yellow light is actually like Hylia's spirit or whatever, and it's directly giving the hearts to Link or slowly healing him. Yeah, that's just a small theory that I have about the hearts in the dungeons. But I think, yeah. That's it,
I like that idea.
We actually have a question from 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Says,
Ooh.
what do you think of getting to hear the voice for Ganon? We already talked about this. Do we think the voice was suiting? Are there any other characters you hope will have a voice actor as well? And also, what did we think of the Legend of Zelda OLED leak? And do you think they might announce one still? So 2 questions there. I think we will get a Nintendo Switch OLED themed after Zelda, but I don't necessarily think the one that we've seen is the one that we're going to get. But and that's just because on the packaging and stuff, all the screenshots or images they used were things that we have already seen. If it had like a screenshot of a new game or a new gameplay scene that we haven't seen yet, then I think it would be more believable. But the fact that it only uses stuff that we've previously seen makes it less likely to be true. But even though I think that one is likely fake, I still think we are going to be getting one. And give Cass a voice actor.
Ooh, yeah.
That would be my pick.
Give him cutscenes, because that's why he doesn't have a voice actor. I mean, he does for little sounds, but that's why he doesn't have one. That would be a good one. I also think we will be getting an OLED Tears of the Kingdom themed Switch. If it is the one that's been rumored, I'd be fine with that, but I don't really like the colors. I don't like the green and yellow. It looks like a weird football team, possibly. It probably is the colors of a football team, for all I know. The first word that comes to mind is Packers, but I couldn't care less about American football. Won't get into it. Love my country, but do not like American football. Anyway, I would hope it looks different than that. I kind of like the concept, just not the colors. But I do think we'll get one, and I really do hope we get one, because I've been talking about how I really want to make a new island for Animal Crossing. And I don't want to demolish the one that I have. I want to keep what I have. So I would need to get another Switch to do that and be able to stream it. So yeah, things like that. That would be really, really fun. And I lost my train of thought. Yeah. As far as a new voice actor or a new voice, I would agree, Cass. A lot of people have still, well, no, not a lot. Some people have still been saying that they would like Link to be voice acted, and I can't really think of anyone else on the spot. I would like Cass too.
Do you want to take this last question from, what was the name again? Oh, I didn't post it in the mailbag. It's in the, I'll copy and post it really quick.
Okay.
It's asking about our thoughts on a video from Ziltic, I think, but I have not seen.
Bree has donated a super chat. She says she is convinced it is real. I have no problem if it is. I just don't like how it looks.
Yeah. So the question that I just posted in the mailbag from William. Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I apologize.
Okay. Wilhelm. It kind of looks like it might be Russian in some way. I don't actually know. So what's your opinion on Zeltic's theory on why Tears of the Kingdom title was a spoil? If you haven't heard it, it goes like this. Tears of the Kingdom is the sequel to Breath of the Wild, but also a prequel, Skyward Sword. Okay. The name of the game isn't a spoiler. The logo, however, is. The logo represents Ouroboros, a snake eating its own tail, except in this case, it's actually eating another snake's tail. It's a symbol of a loop, infinity, which could mean that Zelda timeline is a loop. In the end of Skyward Sword, Demise curses everyone, the cycle without end, and Ganon giving up on reincarnation. In the end of Breath of the Wild, it finally allowed Demise to return to Tears of the Kingdom to start the cycle anew. This makes sense as all three Zelda timeline branches eventually converge to the events of Breath of the Wild. This theory makes sense. What's your opinion? I must have missed that part of the video because I remember him talking about that possibly being a spoiler. I figured that if it was a spoiler for anything, it was Tears of the Kingdom metaphorically because of losing Zelda. That was my thoughts on it. But then again, also maybe alluding to the sky because it drops down, but we already saw the sky before that. So that was my thought. I guess it could be a cycle, but it's not that would cut off chances for new Zelda games because there's so many pockets that you could still put Zelda games in. I don't know, like, I guess it makes sense, but I haven't thought about it enough to find the flaws. And that's not like a dig at anyone. Zeltic's a phenomenal theory creator, and I love his videos. I think I just personally don't like the idea of it being the end and the beginning at the same time. I like the linear timeline, even if there is a convergence at the end, which we've talked about it before. Daniel's theory on the dragon break, and that's why everything can converge at the end. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the idea of it being cyclical. In that sense, I mean, it is a cycle, but in the sense that it just keeps starting over again. And to me, that doesn't explain it being Ganondorf down there, which we all are still assuming it's Ganondorf, and I feel like that's for good reason. So I'm not a fan of it, but that's me.
I was replying to Keeper of Light in chat. Yes, I think you had the first question that we answered. If anyone in the chat has a question that they would like answered, please go ahead and post it. But until then, Geek, I think we're done. Would you like to tell everyone where they might be able to find you or what video you have that they could look forward to seeing?
So I am the Geek Apprentice. I am here on YouTube. I actually just recently passed 10,000 subscribers, which was really cool. I'm actually at 10,900 now, so I'm close to 11,000, which is really cool. And the video that skyrocketed that just passed 100,000 views. I've never had a video go that high before, so that is also really cool. But I do mostly, currently, I've been doing a lot of Zelda and Animal Crossing. and that probably will stay that way for a while. That's the stuff I really like to do. I do Hunger Games once a year, and that's in November, especially because the prequel is coming out this year. The movie form of the prequel is coming out in November, so that works. I sometimes will allude to other things, but recently it's been mostly just gaming stuff, Zelda and Animal Crossing. I just posted a video today called 33 Ways Tears of the Kingdom Will Absolutely Destroy Us, mostly just me. It's more comedic than anything. I don't normally do videos like that, but I really like it. There's one part where I insert a scene from The Princess Bride, and I'm particularly proud of that little moment. I don't know why. I do live streams. I had a live stream this morning where I played through Gerudo Fortress and Ocarina of Time, my favorite Zelda game, even though I have never actually finished it, so that's fun. Yeah, I'm also on Instagram and Twitter, but I really only go there to promote my stuff. So there's that. Yeah, that's me. I'm the Geek Apprentice.
Keeper of Light has a final question, if you would like to take that one, and then we'll...
Yeah. What's with the towers in the new trailer? I don't know, but they're like red, but they also look kind of rudimentary, and there's beams of light coming out from them. So I have no idea.
How do you think they will recycle Guardian tech? I think, like that's the case that we've seen with the Switch, or not the Switch, but the Sheikah Slate, that they changed it to look more like a Nintendo Switch as opposed to the Wii U gamepad. I think that's the type of recycling with technology that we'll see. We'll just like more advanced or upgrades for some of the stuff we have seen, whether it be ZOEY tech or Sheikah tech. And the towers, I think, it would be cool if they, because I don't know what they look like close up, but it would be interesting if they looked like they do in the concept art for the ZOEY towers, where it has like the snake spiral going around it, or the dragon, whatever. So, yeah. What about you? Do you think they'll recycle any of the tech, or how do you take that question?
I think they're going to recycle it in some way, just because we haven't really seen a lot of, like, we haven't seen dismantled Guardians everywhere. So it could have been that this is at least a few months after the end of Breath of the Wild, so they had time to clean up. So especially like with that new Sheikah Slate that Zelda might have in that concept art, they're going to use it in different ways. And that might be how they help Link to harness new abilities for his arm. So I'm sure it'll be recycled in some way rather than just thrown out, especially when you've got people like 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗃 and kind of in part 𝗵𝗃, but mostly those first two who really want to make that stuff work better. So yeah.
Really quick, Nintendo says, what ways Zelda team could improve NPC interactions with players, side quests, and choice-based consequences that improve relations and unlock things, items, quests further as you gain rep.
Take a page out of Majora's Mask's book.
Oh yes, that
would help.
Good. And even on a smaller scale, Skyward Sword had good interactions with NPCs and stuff, especially when it comes time to either give the hand the toilet paper or to give it to the girl or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I want to see stuff like that. I want to see things like is it Hudson, the carpenter that restores the house and builds Terrytown and everything. I want to see more interactions like that actually change the way that the overworld looks, like a rebuilding of a town or something like that. I would like, I think it would be cool. I like how we see Beetle at different areas, so I hope that continues as well with other characters. Where in Majora's Mask, all the characters, like, they had a schedule to where they might be in East Clocktown on this day, or they might be here on another day, and even Cafe is at the hideout, I think on the third day. So it does bring more life to the game, and I hope that it does stuff like that as well, because some of the characters and NPCs are memorable, but it would be nice if it seemed like they actually did have a life and they were they could be found in different places. Like if you wanted to go talk to a certain character, then you'd have to find out where he is, or whatever time of the day. I keep hiccuping. Whatever time of the day, it changes on where you might find certain characters.
Yeah.
Like they might be at a different outpost or in Zora's domain on one day, and then at a specific time in another. So, I don't know. I could have worded that better, but I think I got the point across.
No, I know what you mean.
Gives a super chat. Zelda and Link and Zelda become a couple. That's all they want. What are your thoughts on the
they basically were in Skyward Sword. I would say Breath of the Wild is probably the only other one where that might work, but I think Nintendo's been right to never really push that too much. Skyward Sword, they pushed it a little bit. I wouldn't be opposed if they did, as long as they did it tastefully. But speaking of couples, I don't know why. When you brought up Hudson, I just had this thought, and I was like, oh wait, this is really messed up. Because Hudson, and I forgot the Gerudo's name that he married. It ends in son. That's all I know. They get married, and my understanding, because you never see men, obviously, in Gerudo Town, is these Gerudo women have children, then I guess they just leave and go back to Gerudo Town with their daughters. Then I'm like, so what if they have a daughter and she just disappears, or she's one of the few to stay out of Gerudo Town? Or what if they have a son? Has male Gerudo. But then again, I always thought the whole reason there hasn't been a male Gerudo yet, although it has been 100 years. But then again, there should be two that, all the math, going past that for a second, it was like, oh, maybe there hasn't been one because either that stopped, or just in general, or because Ganondorf has been hidden underneath the castle for so long. But I just had that thought. I was like, poor Hudson.
Yeah.
If they have children, who knows what's going to happen?
It kind of makes sense with what you mentioned with Ganondorf being hidden away or whatever, because technically I don't think he's dead. He's just sealed. So maybe while Link's alive, another...
And they may have done that on purpose so that there wouldn't be another Gerudo male born.
Yeah. Which Zelda games has Ganondorf died? I would say he was pretty confidently dead in Wind Waker.
And Twilight Princess.
Yes, and Twilight, that's another one.
But the downfall timeline is just constant reincarnations of Ganon. So,
all right, Geek, thank you so much for doing the podcast. I was excited when you messaged yesterday. I was like, hey, I can do the pod tomorrow. So it was really cool that hopefully, I'm not really sure what day or time we'll have these every week, but we will be trying to get back at having a regular podcast whenever Geek is available. And there's been some people that I've talked to about coming on as a guest, so I'm looking forward to that as well. And of course, when Tears of the Kingdom does come out, we will do our best to have the voice actors on again.
Yes.
So
that'd be so exciting.
Look forward to that. And have a great day, everyone. Go to Geek's channel and watch some of her new Tears of the Kingdom videos, because they're really, really good.
Thank you.
When's the next time you'll be live streaming Ocarina of Time?
Ocarina of Time, probably next Friday, but I will probably be live streaming this Sunday, but it'll be Animal Crossing.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I do.